All right, so from what you've said, it looks like there's some hurt that's happening there. And I
church
know,
hurt, yeah.
and I know when people talk about church hurt, it looks very different.
Yeah, for sure.
Some people it's the whole system of the church. Some people it's individuals of the church. Because I think one thing we need to tell the audience is church hurt, the building, that's the church, does not hurt anyone.
Yeah.
It doesn't do
Because that's
anything.
the-
It's just the building is there for people
Yeah.
to gather.
Yes.
But there are other systems of the church that are
Yes.
hurting people.
Yeah.
And people in the church that are hurting
individuals.
people.
Yes.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask on like if you meet this, I know you're going through that season, but like what would you tell somebody that is like going through church hurt and they want to come back to church, or they're looking for a different church? Like what are they looking for? How do they come back? Like what does that
So
look
what
like?
can staying and leaving the church?
Yes, yes.
You know what? Because I'm going through it, I would much rather. Feel free to leave your comments and also give me guidance because it's a very serious thing. I would much rather think on it and then hear what you have to say on that, because you are somebody that I take wisdom and guidance from.
All right. I'll tell you this. I've never told anyone this. So
Now you're
like,
telling us all.
for the first time. So I've been in the local church all my life, throughout my teenage life until I was in my early 20s. I was in the local church, and then I decided, you know what, I wanted to change. There was no hurt there. It was just like, okay, I'm really tired of the systems that are there, and I want to experience something different.
Yeah.
So that's how I moved to an international or interdenominational church. And when I went there, I had fun. I had all the fun I wanted. I think in that season, I was okay. I was loving church. I was going to church full force. Everything that was happening there was
So like you found the
exciting.
fun in God.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was
for sure.
so
I think that's also
exciting.
important,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I saw God in a different perspective. I think in the local church mostly was the fear of God. Fear Him. He's going to do something.
Yeah. Oh,
He's going to
authority.
do
Authority.
But like when I went to the international church, I just found the peace with God. You know, I was like, okay, I can talk to God like this. I can be angry with God. I can be happy with God.
sure.
You know, God can piss me off. you
Yeah.
know? And that's what I found. And I remember even having a conversation with somebody, and I was like, you know what? The only reason I'm going to leave this particular church is if I get married. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to leave because there's no money involved. But like, I think with time, I realized that like, I can base my whole life on somebody that's not even there.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you know, it's like, oh, the only reason you're going to change the church is because you get married and then you go to your husband's church.
Yeah.
You know, and then I think in that season, when I was experiencing a bit of church hurt, I didn't go to church for like, I think, you know, for the whole year.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
no, thank you. I'm not doing church anymore. I'm praying in my house. It's fine. But like, also because of the community that the church brings, I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I need to go back. So how do I go back? Am I going to be welcomed there? Am I not going to be welcomed? Am I going to be judged? Like, you know, so many unanswered questions.
Yeah.
And I went back to the church that I went to, and that's when I experienced like it wasn't fun anymore. I was not happy there. Like, I would go to church and come back. Like literally, you go to church, dressed up.
She had the saxophone. She said,
oh. Yeah. I went to church and came back, and nothing. You know how you go to church? There's a preaching guy in the church that preaching. You know, like you're not even interested. You're not invested. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
But that's when I realized that okay, this was not healthy. It was becoming now a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
It was becoming a Sunday, whatever it is. You
Yeah.
know, you go to church on Sunday because you have to go to church on Sunday.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't find that fun. I didn't, because I believe that there's fun with God.
Yeah.
There's peace with God. I wasn't
Yeah.
at peace at church.
Yeah.
So that's when I decided to actually change. And this all didn't sit well with people, because now people are looking at, oh, the only reason you're changing your church is because you're looking for a man. And being in my almost late 20s.
Why would I be there? Why? Why would I be there?
You know, like, because every time I tell people, oh, I've changed churches, I'm going to this church, like, oh, are they men? And I'm like, why are we basing everything around people that are not there? You know, like, and I'm like, no, it's not that reason. I'm finding peace in this other new church.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm finding joy. Like, it's fun now to be in church. It makes sense. Like, I go there and I'm like so excited. I'm like, okay, what's going to be the preaching? Maybe if there's announcements, what are we doing next?
Yeah.
Like, that's, for me, that's what I believe a church should do to you, and not like having a place where you're like, God, let me go. What am I doing here?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think going back is hard. If you're going back to the same church that you were in before, it's going to like, because people have questions and you need to have answers for. So I think it's very important to actually know where your relationship with God is and what you're looking for in a church.
Yeah.
Same thing, you say, oh, I want a man that's doing this, or I want a woman that's doing this. Same thing you
Why are
need to
people
do
doing
when it comes to finding a church. Because I say that the church is the building.
Your standard.
You
Yeah,
need to have a
set a
particular
standard,
standard
yeah.
of the church, and you need to know like how people should treat you in that particular
Yeah.
church. Because the thing I think that has been very hard for people is we allow people in the church to treat us
Anyhow.
because these are people in the church.
I think now that you've given it, like you've given that perspective to me, to be honest, like God was literally saying to me, the problem is you don't feel safe anymore. And I don't feel safe in the church. Like, I think that's so important. I fought for a long time to feel safe with God and in God's presence. So it also took me time to go, because of the community I had during my seasons, I felt safe within the community, but I never felt safe with God. Then I had to learn to feel safe with God and community. And then when that was happening, that's when I was like, oh, God, people are people, but God is God. So I have to also, if you're leading me and you're my leader, if I can't feel safe with you, that's it. That's it. I'll even tell you that I don't feel safe, because with what I encountered, it wasn't a nice thing to go through. And the fact that it was a very racist situation and then nothing was done to address it, I said, it's okay. And since I've also worked in human rights, I read books, I've done my history, my research, as you guys know, also the history of Christianity, colonization, everything like that. For me, I was like, oh, and this was someone who was my friend. I thought we were friends. So when they did that to me, I was like, oh, okay. And then when the leaders failed to hold the person accountable and to actually show up in a way that to find a resolve that was actually safe for everyone and that gave justice to me, I said, you guys are putting me in a position where I'm actually starting to also have beef with God again over this topic of colonization and church. So I'm just gonna step away, because I've always told myself, anything that tries to rob my peace, especially that tries to invalidate or become a situation where I'm blaming God and looking at God and I'm starting beef with God. I said no. I've gotten really good at handling my tantrums with God. So I said no, I'm not gonna do a tantrum here. So that's the thing for me, safety. If I'm not safe in the body of Christ, which is people in the church, sorry, especially if you're a leader, sorry, that's just not gonna work for me, because again, I really believe in accountability and justice. So for me, I was just like, I don't feel justice here, and that's fine. And then another thing that I wanted to speak on is how, because of how Christianity, people generalize Christianity and expect us to behave a certain way. People like me who are authentic, or even like Thelma who are authentic, because we talk and we are able to voice ourselves and advocate for ourselves, we are seen as a problem. So people don't gravitate really towards people like Thelma and I. But do you notice we're each other's spec? Spec! So when it comes to certain things, we're not invited to those places, or maybe we're overlooked and stuff like that. They want the people who just fit in. And so fitting in is not our job. We are who we really are, and we're not ashamed, because for a long time I carried shame of being who I was, my life and everything, and then God freed me of that. So I'm not going to go back to that just because people are quote unquote not accepting me or rejecting me. Sorry, work through those issues. I'm not going back. So I think for me that's what's important. I'm not feeling safety, and even though they did apologize, the pastors did apologize, and so did the person. The fact that the person is still in a position of leadership, for me was just like, no thank you, I'm not doing that. So I think to anyone, it's okay to take a time out, because I've left the church before I left the church because I was angry with God, but now I've left the church because I'm not angry with people, but I'm really disappointed and hurt by the people in the church, especially the leaders. And so I've taken a break, but it doesn't mean I've stayed away from God. I'm still listening to sermons online from different types of pastors who have experience in and knowledge in this kind of thing, and then I'm also seeking wisdom from friends who and I'm also looking for a church right now. So if you have any church that you'd like me to try out, freedom is key. Please please put it down in the comments, or you can DM me. But yeah, guys, that's it that we have for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Also, you're gonna find this on our YouTube channel, and tune in, subscribe, and once again, this is Thelma. Please do follow her, and thank you for tuning in. Enjoy.
Bye.